Views and opinions expressed in this podcast and on our social media accounts do not represent that of the entire death industry. While we make every effort to ensure that the information we are sharing is accurate, we welcome any correction of errors, comments, concerns, or suggestions. Privacy is of utmost importance to us. All people and places mentioned in this podcast have been changed to protect the families we serve. This podcast should not be used in any legal capacity whatsoever. The information, opinions, and recommendations presented in this podcast are for general information only. Any reliance on the information provided in this podcast is done at your own discretion.
Hello there, folks, and welcome to episode 2 of the Dying to Share podcast. This is Barry, and I'm here with Morty.
Hello.
And in this episode, this installment, we will be discussing what happens when you die. Not so much, heaven, hell, afterlife, religious.
That'll be the next episode.
That'll probably be the next one. But more so, when you die, depending on where you are, if you're in a hospital or home, you usually call a funeral director. But what is the process to go from the hospital bed or your house to either the ground or to a crematory or to on a mantle?
What we might call
final disposition.
Yeah.
So the steps involved, it's going to be a real Morty heavy episode because
yeah, buckle up, folks. We'll be talking a lot this episode.
Because mine's pretty simple afterwards. But the only thing we will disclaimer is everybody should do pre-arrangements at some point in their life. I'm not saying if you're 22 years old and you're in college, you don't need to do pre-arrangements now because you don't know where you're going to be. But when you're settled and you're confident in saying, I want to be buried, I'm probably going to die in this town or city, where am I going to go? At some point, you need to have a conversation with either your family, well, actually your family for sure, and a funeral director and a cemetery.
I would say, honestly, at any point, just talking to, no matter your age, as soon as you become an adult, just expressing what you might want, right? Because even when you're young, though, think about your parents having to make that decision for you. Rough.
Yeah, no,
rough.
If you do pre-arrangements, it takes all the guesswork out of it.
Mm-hmm.
You get to go the way that you want to. You get to go to the cemetery you want, and to the funeral home you want. It's not left as a burden onto your kids or your loved ones. They'd be like, well,
it really allows them to grieve,
right,
and just actually be present with their emotions and deal with how they're feeling, and not necessarily all of the paperwork and all of the choices they have to make moving forward. And a lot of people in that moment, they want to do like the works for you, So if that's not something that you necessarily want, as much as you've expressed to your family, please just put me in a box and put me in the ground.
Right. When
it comes time, they're going to be like, no, Dad deserved this, and they deserve this.
We do that a bunch.
Yeah.
We get that a lot. Like, what would Dad want? Well, he'd be that guy, but if he had everything lined up, there would be no guesswork in it.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll introduce the question to you, Morty.
Yeah.
Because I've been with you, and the phone has rang, and you're like, oh, it's a death call. And that's actually what started this. I asked you, I'm like, well, now what happens? Like, I know obviously what happens, but so basically most of the options are going to be like in a hospital or at home.
Or, hospice, nursing home. Yeah, mostly those options.
I already have a dumb question.
Medical examiners, yeah.
If somebody is pronounced dead at like an accident, you don't go to the accident, do you?
So that is, and where we're from, I mean, there are coroners in some locations, but where we are, there's a medical examiner transporter. So a funeral home kind of bids to be the transporter for the medical examiner. So our closest medical examiner is like an hour away. So what they do is they show up on scene with the cops. They help move the body for, investigation purposes, take photos, and then they will transport that body from that scene to the medical examiners. Because if you're dead on a police investigation scene or car accident, you're typically going to go to the medical examiners, at least where we're from.
Okay. So now, say someone passes away in a hospital, how do they know to even call you? How do they know what funeral home to even go to? Is that I'm sure there's not like one huge database, but or is it just ask the family and the family just says, I don't know, he might, mom didn't have any prearrangements, but mom might have had prearrangements and the family didn't know.
Ding, ding, ding. So
Is that really what happens?
Yeah, it's the second one. The hospital basically, usually it's a nurse or nursing supervisor, and they say, do you have a funeral home that you want to use? And if there's not prearrangements, it's whatever funeral home the family has been going to. And then there are instances where we'll get people that, they call several funeral homes, and they're what we call price shopping.
Okay.
Yeah, I almost said price shopper.
Yeah, no, not that.
They're not price shopper. They're price shopping, and they're trying to figure out, the best deal for them, and they're really cost conscious.
They're kicking tires.
Cost conscious.
Okay, not kicking tires. Okay, so your phone rings and says, who's on the other line?
So what happens is if we're not in the office, there's actually answering services for funeral homes and other companies too. I mean, there are churches that have them and some cemeteries, and they just take a message. So what they'll do is if it's immediate and the family say you die, the person passes away in home, they're going to try to patch us through to them. They're not going to try to just send us a text message and have us look at that and then call the hospital, which is usually something that would happen in the hospital, is if a nurse calls and is like, hey, this person has passed away, here's the information, the deceased name, the deceased location, the next of kin, the next of kin's phone number, and the hospital phone number. They'll just send that through as a text, as an urgent text.
But the hospital employee calls.
The hospital employee typically calls on behalf of the next of kin.
Okay.
Because they're there also to help and comfort you
Right.
in that moment. So they're trying to take that burden. Same with hospice.
Mm-hmm.
If you're on hospice and you're at home, typically the hospice worker they'll ask you what funeral home. It's usually already listed because they're on hospice.
Mm-hmm.
They'll call the funeral home and indicate to us, and then we call the next of kin after that.
Okay. So if it's at home,
Mm-hmm.
it's just obviously just not hospice. It's just the next of kin calls.
So it's interesting because if it's not an attended death, the medical examiner really gets involved in our area.
I have heard that.
Mm-hmm.
That's why we get some of the paperwork. I'm going to cut you off, but it says pending investigation
Mm-hmm.
because they don't know. Well, they don't know. How
They
they
haven't
died.
determined
Right.
yet. They haven't determined yet. So that doesn't necessarily mean they're going to have an autopsy.
Mm-hmm.
Say somebody has died at home, but they have a history of cardiac issues and they had a heart attack 15 years ago. They had what seems to be a heart attack and they collapsed in front of theirs.
But who makes that determination?
So it would be either the medical examiner is going to look at that person's medical history, talk to their doctor, and they kind of come to a conclusion that it was most likely, he's 85.
But that all happens while that person's laying on the ground?
It is pretty quick.
Oh, really?
It's usually within an hour. And then if the medical examiner is iffy about anything, they have that transporter come and transport them to the medical examiners.
So for our area,
Mm-hmm.
the ME is an hour away.
Yeah.
So everyone's just hanging out, waiting for him to arrive or her to arrive?
Well, no. So the medical examiner transporter is local.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Yeah. He's, works in our vicinity, owns his own funeral home right now, and operates another with a couple partners. And he bid for the job. And when he gets a call, he goes and, yeah.
He takes it to the medical examiner.
To the medical examiner immediately.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And then the ME makes a determination. And then does the ME call the different funeral homes then?
So what happens is the family still would be reaching out to us. Usually
Okay.
in that case, say the police show up. The police will give us a call.
Right, okay.
Right? And they'll call on behalf of the family. Then that will either be patched through to us or sent in as a text message. We have 10 minutes to respond before the answering service calls us and is like, hey,
Yeah.
did you answer this person?
Right.
So you have 10 minutes, and usually you respond pretty quickly anyway. If you're on call, you're expecting to get a
Right.
call, and then you'll call whomever called you, like you'll call the next of kin, you'll call the police officer, the nurse, you'll tell them your approximate time of arrival. If it's the next of kin, you go into a little bit more questioning where you ask them kind of immediately if they're going to be doing an embalming or not, because that is something that should be taken place promptly after they die. You get the best results from an embalming as soon as somebody dies. It's because you start to decompose, your blood starts, coagulating. Yeah.
I know that one.
And so it's harder to push chemicals through your arterial system when the blood has clotted and just like become coagulated.
Okay.
So then you'll ask the family if they want to be embalmed or if they're thinking of cremation. You'll ask the family if they have any idea of what they're thinking of for services, because just because you're on call, like I could be on call Thursday, but I have Friday, Saturday, Sunday off. So they might not be meeting with me.
Right.
They might be meeting with another funeral director. I want to be able to give them as much information about what they're going to be walking into so they can properly serve this family and not go in asking like all these questions. And the family was like, I didn't think about that. Now you're sitting in arrangements.
All right.
And then you're going to tell them, I'm sorry to keep interrupting.
No, you're fine.
You're going to tell them some information that they should have before they come into arrangements.
Such as?
You're going to need a social security number. You're going to need, and that's for social security purposes. So in our state, and I'm pretty sure it's like a national thing, we have EDRS, which it's an electronic death certificate registry. So you're able to go online, and it kind of bypasses the family having to call Social Security and cancel everything. They get an indication because everything is done online. So you're going to need the Social Security number. You're going to need the person's legal name. You're going to need their birth date. You're going to need their parents' names, including their mother's maiden name. And if they're married, the spouse's maiden name. And if they were in the military, you're going to need them to bring in the DD-214, which is their discharge paperwork. Mm-hmm. So if they're thinking of having any type of military services or a headstone or anything like that, it's always good to bring that in during arrangements so that we can copy it and have that on file and use that for whoever we need to send it to.
Okay. So now if someone passes away in a hospital, you get a call from the nurse or whoever saying so-and-so passes away, and then how long does it take for, I'm sure someone's got to sign some paperwork releasing them, because I always hear funeral directors talk about, just wait on the doctor to sign the paperwork, and then I'll be right up. For the
that's for a death certificate.
Okay, so, but I'm sure someone has to release it.
Yeah.
And then you just get a phone call and saying, hey, so-and-so is released, so come get them.
So what happens is you make that initial phone call to the nurse or the hospital, whoever called, letting them know like you'll be taking care of this, and you ask them if the person has been released. So this is typically after you've already talked to the family, you get the gist of what's going on. Now, in our state, there is a company called CDT, which is like Connective Tissue Donor, something or another.
Okay.
And it's specifically for skin and long bone donors, and they ask the family if they'd be willing to be a donor for that. So a lot of people are on hold for that, for them to reach out to the families and either get a yes or a no. In our state, the hospital cannot release the body without having an indicator of a yes or a no for that.
And that's different than like on the back of your license, you're listed as a donor. Mm-hmm. That's separate.
Yeah, so, which is so funny. I just was talking about this with one of our part-timers because he is a donor, and on his license, it has the little heart that says donor.
Yep.
And he was asking me, because this is so difficult. It's so hard to explain because I don't want to sit here and like bash anything. I do think that there is.
You can go right ahead.
I do think there is like a really happy medium to donating. CDT in particular, I have some, I don't know, like some, not issues, but it's difficult. It's probably the hardest way I've ever seen a body. Like,
What do you mean hardest way
like
you've seen a body?
the most, I don't know what other word to use besides like kind of atrocious.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
like
it's
hacked.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I hate to use that term, but like I would prefer to see an autopsied body, which is a pretty wild way to see a body, more than I would somebody that's been a skin and bone donor, because and from what I've heard, once again, I'm pretty new into this. What I heard when they first started this company was they like took a little bit of skin, it almost looked like a razor burn.
Okay.
And they were like, it was just a little bit of your skin, and it looked like you had this red burn on the back of you. And now they take like almost like a half an inch of fat too. So you have no skin. You have no skin.
And your face too?
No. So they leave, because you might be viewed. They don't know if you're being embalmed or not. They leave your arms, your like chest, and your head. But your back and your legs, like probably right at your like pelvis,
Belt line?
No, a little bit lower than your
Okay.
belt line. That skin is taken, and it's like I don't know, like almost like a heinous way to see a body, and it's extremely hard to embalm a body like that. The dog.
Don't mind her.
It's the skin holds in the chemicals. So when there's no skin holding in the chemicals, it's just coming out of the fat, and it's just hard to have a long-term solid embalming, and the smell of chemicals is very, very much so there.
Prominent.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it just a lot of work goes into making sure that body is prepared again. You have to bag the body, which is use like a Unionol or a Coverall, which are these like specific types of bagging that we use in the industry, and it almost looks like a little suit, like a onesie zip up, So you have to use one of those, and to get a body that is just flat, like fat, the fat comes off. It comes off in like little chunks in your hand. I don't know. And then you have to open the wounds in the legs where they took your bones, which they now replace with PVC pipes.
Really?
Yeah. You have to make sure that that's dry, because you don't want the cavities to be wet. So you have to remove the PVC pipe, put powder in there, and it's like a type of powder that dissolves liquid and kind of solidifies, and then you re-sew those wounds, the openings.
Okay.
I'm so sorry, Barry.
I don't like any of this.
So yeah, it's different when you're an organ donor. If you pass away in a car accident, and say you get transported to the hospital and they pronounce you, but you're still able to be on a machine, then they're able to obtain your organs that way. After you die, your organs aren't viable. You've been dead. So a lot of people think, oh, I can still be an organ donor. It's like, no, you have to be like living and on a ventilator of some sort, to maintain those organs. And then on top of that, they have to find your organs to be viable and good enough to give to somebody else. They have to find a match. So it really depends on, like, I have A positive, which is not, I probably wouldn't be the best donor because of that. But if you're like an O,
right?
Yeah, you're the chances of you being a donor
B
is
something. I think I'm B plus.
B plus.
B positive. That too.
So it's different. Like, and that doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be a CDT donor. Is if you are an organ donor, your family still has to consent to you being a tissue and bone donor.
So everyone gets to ask that question.
No matter what. No matter if they're a donor or not on their license.
Okay. Well, I don't like that. But that's just me.
Well, I'm sorry. And
I'm sure it helps people, and I'm sure
it's mostly, I would say
program.
It's definitely for research, and it does help people, but it's not, I don't think, in the way that when families are like, oh, they can take their skin and bones, like it's saving somebody's life. I don't know about all that.
Yeah, okay.
But it's also, if they saw what happened, we always say this, if families saw what happened to their loved one, it would be, I believe, a hell no.
Okay.
I really do. And
and you can't influence them.
No, not in any way. And we
Right.
can't even charge more for the embalming, even though you can't use water in that embalming at all. It's all chemicals, which is a pretty penny. Chemicals are not cheap, which are why embalmings are expensive. On top of the time, and it's an art. It's something that somebody has to learn to do. So you have to pay that person to do it. I don't know. I don't think many people think too much into it, as if they saw what was going on. There would be more questions than an immediate yes.
Okay.
And we can't charge. Yeah, we can't charge more for that embalming, even though it's going to cost us more to do that embalming. Not only in chemicals, but in time. It takes us twice as long to get somebody dressed and prepared after the embalming as it does typically, because they have no skin on half their body.
Right. Yuck. Okay. Well, next. Oh, can we move on?
We've rattled them, folks.
Can we move on to the
We've
next stage?
completely rattled them. Yeah.
Okay, so then the body is released from if you're at a hospital.
Mm-hmm.
So then you just swing over and.
So what you do is you call the hospital. Usually they typically don't call us in our state. We have to keep pestering them throughout the day.
They love that.
Yeah, and asking them. Some hospitals you get close with, right? And you know the supervisor, and they know there's like one nursing supervisor has my cell phone number, and she'll be like, "Hey, girl, yeah, I'll call you when they're done." So she'll give me a ring because she wants them to be also out of the morgue as quick as possible.
Is there a time limit?
No, not really, because a family, there could be families that are like, well, we don't know. We don't know what funeral home we're going to use.
No, I didn't know, like, once they're released, you have, like, 48 hours to get
No,
them
it's just a
out,
respect factor.
Okay.
Like, you want that person to be in your care as soon as possible, because this family is entrusting you to take care of them.
So then when you go and get them, what are they in?
Depending on the hospital, mostly now in our area, they're all in bags. They're not as like durable as body bags as like from the medical examiners, because they're a little bit more leaky if you're coming from the medical examiners. They're like a little bit lighter of a plastic. But before that one of the hospitals we were closely around just use like plastic to wrap the body in, which was really, really difficult, because you'd transfer from a steel table and just rip the plastic, and God forbid if they had any fluid coming, it would just get everywhere. So they're in a body bag, and in the hospitals, I don't know if they still call it, but a lot of the old school funeral directors will ask new nurses if they are bagging and tagging.
Okay.
Because that's what they give like nursing students the job to do, is to bag and tag. So you get a toe tag, there's a tag on your bag, so the person is clearly indicated. They kind of wrap your hands together, because once again they're assuming you're going to be embalmed, and the way that it's the morgues are cold. So the way that you're setting and like sitting sets you. Like, yes, you can break up the rigor mortis and everything, but it still is helpful to have the arms like connecting and holding each other. If your mouth was kind of hanging open, they sometimes like do a wrap around your head, like underneath your jaw. And this is all with like gauze. And then they'll kind of wrap your feet too. Usually they're in a hospital gown.
And then you put them on...
I put them on my stretcher.
And then you take the stretcher to...
my van.
To your van.
Yeah.
Now,
which is something else I don't think people... The hearse is really not used necessarily for transporting.
Show.
Yeah,
it's just for show, really, right?
Unless you're transporting to the crematory.
Right. But so...
It's like for the crematory, for services.
But you put that individual in the back of the van or hearse, but they're not in a box.
Mm-mm.
See, I was under the
They're
impression...
just on the stretcher.
I was under the impression you put them in a box, even if they're going to be embalmed, and then you bring them. Okay, I did know that.
Yeah. No.
Well, I guess why would you? That's another step that you don't need to do.
Yeah, they just go on the stretcher, and the stretcher has buckles, so you buckle them in for safety, And so there's 2 straps. You buckle them in, and most stretchers have like levers. So you like collapse the back legs, and you'll collapse the front legs, and you slide them into your car.
I'm sure there's some sort of paperwork you got to sign.
Yeah. So at the hospital in the morgue, there's typically like 1 or 2 pieces of paper where you're filling out your name, your registration number, the funeral home that you're picking up for, because like we talked about before, there are trade workers that will go and pick up for several funeral homes. So just because it's your name doesn't mean you're affiliated with a certain funeral home.
And I'm sure you're escorted into the morgue.
So you typically, depending on every hospital does it a little differently. You know, there's one hospital very close to us where, you know, we hit a button, we talk to the security officers, they asked us the deceased name and what funeral home we're from, because they're going to make sure that it's the same.
Matches.
It's what they have on their paperwork is who's picking up that for that person. So then they'll buzz you in. I bring my stretcher inside. I wait outside the morgue for God knows how long, because sometimes conveniently there's like a code blue or there's something going on in the psych ward, and I'm waiting for 40 minutes for a security officer to come unlock a door. And then we wait at this particular hospital for a nursing supervisor to come down as well, which once again, they could be in the middle of a stat or something going on. So it could be a while, or it's sometimes, I mean, I'm there for 10 minutes. It's beautiful.
But they bring you to the...
They have a key for the morgue.
Is
they
it like
open
a
the
drawer,
morgue.
like you see in the movies?
So this hospital they have, I think it's 10 spots in the drawers, which is one of the first times I've seen it like that. Usually it's just like a big cooler, like a big room, and they have tables, and everybody's on like a table, and they like wheel the hospital tables around.
Like it's a large refrigerated room.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. But this one is, they have the drawers. So if your person is on the bottom drawer, you collapse your stretcher to the ground, which, you know, most stretchers are able to do that. You pull both levers, you have somebody else push the other end, and your stretcher will collapse to the ground. You slide them onto your stretcher, and then you both at the same time pull up, wait for the click, and you're good to go.
And you go by yourself, though, normally?
To the hospitals, yes.
So who's helping you? The security guard?
Security guards, mostly.
They'll actually help.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially because, and once again, I think this is maybe one of the benefits to being a woman in the industry is people be helping me. Like people, especially like a lot of the security are men, and even the women are super helpful too, but they like almost jump to help you. You know, I don't know if it's because they think I can't do it or if they're just being gentlemen, you know?
Okay. I assumed you went by yourself, but I didn't know if the guards would help or just say, no, that's your thing.
Well, they'll also, which is something that I know doesn't happen for my boss as a man, they'll ask me if I want help out to the car too.
Okay.
Which
is there a
usually
parking
a
spot
no.
for you?
Yeah, so and most of the time
across the street or anything. Or...
No, but it's not in a discreet. It's usually, we always kind of laugh because if you don't know the hospital, just look for the dumpsters, and that's probably where you're going, because for whatever reason, the morgue entrance is right near the trash.
Okay. Well,
yeah. So it's usually in the back of the hospital, near the dumpsters.
Okay.
Rolling up.
Okay. So now the individual is in your possession.
Mm-hmm.
You bring him back to the funeral home. Your funeral home has multiple funeral homes, buildings, I guess you could say. But only one has the embalming room, correct?
They both technically have an embalming room.
Okay. But
the embalming room we don't use because the elevator broke. And it was a pretty penny to fix the elevator. And since embalmings are on the decline, we really don't need 2 prep rooms in complete operation, you know? So we've just been using this one funeral home, one of our buildings that has a very large prep room. And so we bring all of our bodies to that prep room or care center.
Right.
and then if they're being embalmed, I start the embalming process, and if they're being cremated, at our funeral home too is something that we've like newly started, is we started taking everybody's fingerprints, because it's kind of an afterthought, either after they've been cremated or after they've been buried. They're like, oh, did you get Dad's fingerprints by any chance? Because now there's jewelry out there that can be made by the fingerprints, or some people are getting tattoos with the fingerprints, or it's just a keepsake to have. So we've been taking everybody's fingerprints, and then
So I have a question.
Yeah.
Throughout this whole process, are you supposed to, or do you inform the family, like, hey, I have so and so. He's at the funeral home, or I was just curious. Do you keep them in?
So usually what I do is when I first talk to the family before I even transfer the body is I ask them, do you want me to keep you informed through every step of this? When your loved one is in my care, as soon as we leave the hospital, I ask them, do you want me to let you know when we're on our way to the crematory, if we're going to the crematory? Because some people are like, absolutely, please. I'm super happy that you asked that. And other people are like, why would I want to know?
Just let me know. Just tell me when to show up.
Yeah, just tell me when the ashes are good.
Yeah. Okay. So that's the family to family thing.
Yeah. And
Okay.
I don't know if every funeral director I ask, just because I've had instances where I can tell it really helped them. And I like to give people as many choices as possible. And some people might say that's not the best, because as a funeral director, you're supposed to be taking away choices. Like, you're supposed to be
Directing.
like alleviating that. But I don't know these families well enough for me to be guessing.
Right. No.
Yeah.
And then
So
that's
I just
a
would
permanent
rather.
thing too. You can't just guess. I wouldn't think.
Yeah. I'd rather just ask.
Okay.
And if you're a little rude to me because I'm asking too many questions, then I'm okay with that. I'd rather ask too many.
Right. No, I'd say that's better to ask questions, so at least you get to not say.
You know what they say about assuming.
Yeah. Yes, I do. Okay. My next question is, I always hear for like when someone's bringing them to the crematory, oh, I'm just waiting on the doctor to sign the certificate, but I never understood that, because you have that individual at your funeral home. To me, I don't understand how you would have that individual without the doctor signing off on it.
So the doctor signing off is just the death certificate. The release from the hospital is CDT has been contacted. The family either already donated or is not donating. Medical examiners have indicated they don't want the body. So the hospital is basically able to relieve that body into your care. The death certificate in our state, it's 72 hours for it to be signed. We in a total have 72 hours. Now, do doctors think that they have 72 hours to sign? They sure do.
Okay.
They sure do. So they be waiting. They just take their time sometimes. And it's, I don't know if they're too busy. And, I'd love to hear from some doctors, because maybe we'd get a different perspective, because it's something that's very frustrating for me as a funeral director, is to have to call and be like, hey, this person is a cremation. It's been 2 days. Why have you not signed this death certificate? And they're like, well, I have 72 hours. And I'm like, no. Let's get this person to their disposition as quickly as we can. It's not, you just diddle it like.
Yeah. Because we hear that all the time from every funeral director saying, I'm just waiting on this damn doctor to sign it, and I've called them 15 times, and I'm not getting anything back. But I promise you, as soon as it's done, I'll be right up with the case.
Because what happens is, as soon as we meet with the family after, during arrangements, we take information. It's like vital statistics for a death certificate. It's all the information that I basically had said to you, which was the legal name, gender, social security, where they died, ethnicity, level of education, parents' names, spouse's name, address, all of these things. We get all of that information. We go on to EDRS, that electronic death certificate. And so once that is put into the EDRS, we're able to kind of put all the information we had, and then there's a medical portion that we're not allowed to touch. And the doctor has to do that part. So a lot of the times, from my understanding, they'll have an assistant or a nurse implement all of that information, and literally all they have to do is go in and review it and then click a button that says sign. And for whatever reason, I don't know if they're very busy or if it's kind of the last thing that they do at the end of the day. It just kind of gets pushed to the wayside.
Now, is that the form that the burial transit. Burial transit.
Yep.
But that one, because I know it says on there where that individual is going.
We can't get that permit until the death certificate is signed by medical, which is why we're waiting to bring them to the crematory. because we need that transit permit in order to bring them to the crematory. And without the doctor signing, like all of the other paperwork is done. The authorization form for cremation, done. But the transit permit cannot be produced to us until the death certificate is signed by medical.
But once they have it signed, you could print it out from the office.
Mm-hmm.
And then once you have it printed out, you can fly it up. And then, but I know on that form, it does say, you know, what crematory it's going to.
Mm-hmm.
And I've heard that's a pain if they want to change it. It's kind of
it's a huge pain, yeah.
Yeah, because I know when we get our inspections, they go through our paperwork and they all check that, and they're like, you guys have to make sure this says your cemetery, because if it doesn't,
crematory.
Well, cemetery.
Yeah,
same thing.
Yeah, because it's a burial transit permit for a cemetery as well.
Okay, so yeah, I know that's the one that's produced after the paperwork is signed by the doctor.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm with you.
So it takes both of us to sign the paperwork, but
Right.
typically the funeral director portion is completed well before the doctor's is. And I mean, every now and then it is completed pretty promptly by the doctor, and it's like a, I don't know, it's like a little treat. I'll get into the office, and our office manager will be like, "Oh, by the way, death certificate's already filled out by medical," and I'm like, "Oh my gosh!"
When you don't have to you're not notified. You just gotta keep hitting the refresh button.
There is a notification. It gets sent to your messages in EDRS, which you can hook up to your email.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So next step.
Mm-hmm.
You have the individual, if they want to get embalmed, for viewing, you embalm them.
Mm-hmm.
I know we'll kind of gloss over that.
Well, that's typically before the arrangements.
Okay. I mean, once you have the body, though, is what I'm getting at. But we can kind of gloss over that because that's probably going to be its own episode altogether, is embalming.
Yeah.
Yuck. Yuck.
Wait, as somebody that was a bio major,
Yeah.
Very interesting that you think it's yucky.
Yeah.
What do you think is yucky about it?
What is the whole thing?
What about it, though?
I don't know. Just poking around a dead body makes me...
Okay, so if they were living, it'd be better.
Yes.
Why?
Because then you can get, feedback.
Feedback? They're not awake when they're living. If you go into surgery, you're not being able to be like, "Hey, Doc, great job."
I know, but no offense.
The feedback is from the family afterwards.
But no offense, that's like a doctor.
Okay.
You're not a doctor.
I know that.
But I
But
know,
I still
I
had
know.
training and to do what an embalming, an embalming and what we have to do.
It's weird because my choice right now is I want to be a full body and be embalmed.
Mm-hmm.
But that doesn't mean I want to. I'd rather not know how.
I mean, it's the same thing, though. I'm not comparing us to doctors, right? But doctors are cutting into you.
Yeah.
Same.
Yeah.
Doctors are typically removing something. Same.
Yeah, I know.
Doctors are sewing you up. Same. Doctors are trying to make you, feel better or look better. Same.
Well, you're not feel better.
No, but it will make your family feel better that you aren't gray and your mouth isn't hanging open and you don't things like that.
I suppose. Okay. Oh, you're right.
It's more so you're, instead of having a patient that is able to look at you and be like, "Yes, I feel way better. That was such a good job." Blah blah blah. It's the family. They're your clients in a sense. They're gonna tell you if it doesn't look like Dad. Oh, they'll tell you.
I've seen some rough ones, I think.
Yeah, for sure. And there are times where before I started embalming, I was like, "Man, what did they do?" But now after seeing people after they die, sometimes I've seen people that I know and they look very different after they die, or if they've gone to have an autopsy or they were CDT. The trauma in your body kind of stays. I don't know how to describe it.
Yeah.
Especially if you get your eyes removed, it changes your face.
That's I want to actually put it on record. That is the one thing. You can have any organ you want if it's worth it from me. Just not my eyes. That's the one thing I want to keep there.
And there are some instances where you're like, "Ooh, this looks so good." You wouldn't even be able to tell that their eyes were taken. And then other times, for whatever reason, it's like, "Oh man, I cannot get their eyes to not look flat." No matter how many eye caps I layer up, no matter how much cotton.
Okay. All right. So now Okay, so now, when do you notify the cemetery for either process?
So
I'm
as
just
soon
curious.
as soon as we get done with the arrangements,
Which the
which
family
are
comes in and says, "I want to go." I'm sure the question is, do you have a cemetery you want to go to, or do you have any? Do they have a lot, or do they have a plot, or anything that they want to use? And if they say, "Nope, we have nothing," then I'm sure you ask them, like, "Is there some place you want to go?" And if they say, like, how do you pick what cemetery to go to?
so if they don't have a cemetery space, I typically lead with, do they have family members in any cemetery space, any cemetery around? And if the answer is no, which is pretty rare, then yeah, they usually ask our opinion,
Okay.
which I think is why it's important to maintain yes, do we like necessarily work together as funeral director and a cemetery worker? Like, no, right? But to maintain these relationships is important because cemeteries are going to get people that call and say, what's a good funeral home to use?
So that was my next question, or my next statement I was going to make. I know when I first started in this, and my father, the superintendent, he told me once, he's like, don't get in the business of recommending funeral homes. He goes, I never recommend a funeral home. I always say I work with all of them. He goes, because last thing you need a funeral home to find out is like, oh, I recommended going to Morty. Ooh, I said your name there. I recommend going to Morty, and someone else's feelings are going to be hurt. Like, oh, why didn't you send them to us? So we always just say, if anyone calls and say, I live in this town, we might say, well, so and so is in that town and they're good, or they're.
But what if they're not good? Do you guys lie?
Probably, or we just.
Or you kind of put your own. It's not necessarily a lie, but your own personal.
We always just say we
opinions.
work with everybody, and they might say, "What do you think of so and so?" And I think we don't ever say yes or no. We usually say we work with everybody.
Yeah.
And I've even told people before, I don't want to tell you who to go to because I don't want to get into that game. So, and
it's different though, because I think in a sense, and maybe correct me if I'm wrong, like, could funeral homes deter people from going to cemeteries?
I'm sure, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, I couldn't see many people picking their funeral home off of something somebody at the cemetery said. Yes and no, but like, I am super honest with families about cemeteries. If it's maintained or not, and how well it's kept. But most of the time, they're going to a cemetery because their family's there.
Right. Or
so it's not
if they're Catholic, and
yeah,
things like that too. I know we had this one family call, or not even a full family. It was one lady called, and she goes, "My father just passed away, and I'm walking out of the cemetery, or I'm working out of the hospital right now, and it says I need a funeral, and I was told I need to get a funeral director. I called you guys because I saw you have a crematory and you're in this area. I'm not from this area. Who do I go to?" And we were like, oh boy, because they have no ties
to anywhere,
to any funeral home. And I think we even told her, like, just do a Google search and of like whatever funeral home. I think we were really vague.
It's different though, right? Because you guys have to like work. Yes, we work with all of these cemeteries, but like we don't. I don't know. It's not like we owe them anything. Like we're not making any money off of anybody going to any cemetery.
No, I know. But
whereas like you guys are gonna make, if you guys tell them to go to us and over this other funeral home, and that funeral home gets upset, you're losing out on money from that funeral home potentially not bringing their families to you.
Right.
Right. Whereas if we tell people our opinions about a cemetery and they decide not to go to that cemetery, it's really...
And that's the other thing, too.
I don't know what the cemetery is going to do to us.
Well, no, but I wanted to mention that, too, is, like, families, they make all the decisions. They might not know it, but, like, we were always told the families get to pick everything, whether the funeral director gives them that option, they get to pick everything now.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, I want to go to this cemetery. I want to go to this crematory. Stuff like that.
Yeah. But that's why it's important to find, I think, directors that are giving you options.
Right. I think that's because I think when we built our crematory, we met with a lot of funeral directors, and one of them flat out said, "Well, they're gonna go to the crematory that we take them to." And I remember thinking, like, well, that's not how it should be. It should be, well, where do you want to go?
Mm-hmm.
But most families don't care really what crematory they go to. They just want to get the ashes back.
Although there are some that are like, oh, that's more local. I'm excited to, not excited, but I'm happy to.
I don't think excited is the right word.
Yeah, I'm happy to like support that local business.
Mm-hmm. But I know I was told that though, that like they're gonna go to what crematory we tell them to go to.
Yeah, that's
like, well,
for
that's
sure. Because
shitty.
if they don't give the family your family is in it's like a weird foggy state,
Right.
like, and if you're not given all of the options flat out in front of you and you're given only 2 or 3, you're going to think those are the options.
Right.
You're not going to sit there and ask questions and like barter or go back and forth with this funeral director. You want to be out of that funeral home as soon as you can.
And I have heard people like, I'm tired of making decisions.
Yeah, for sure.
I've heard that personally when families come in to buy graves. And I'm like, okay, well, this one or this one. They're like, I really don't care. Can you just pick for me? And I'm like, sure, gotcha.
Yeah, but it's like they also need to say that.
Right.
You can't just
No.
assume.
You don't just assume like, I want to pick this one for you. No, it's got to be like, you tell me.
Mm-hmm.
That I don't want to make
like
this
you
decision.
see it on them.
Mm-hmm. So, if they're going to be a full burial, you sit and discuss with them and say, what day works for you guys, what
Mm-hmm.
day works for the family. I'm sure you call a church of some kind, or they rent out. How does that? Do they rent your funeral home space?
Mm-hmm.
Is it actually like a rental?
So on the itemization, there's a facilities cost, a facilities fee. So there's a fee for supervision. There's a fee for the arrangements. There's a fee for the transfer of the body into our care. There's a fee for the embalming. The facility fee, which is if you're having calling hours or service at the funeral home. If you're having it at church and nothing's happening at the funeral home, that will be in the cash advance side.
Okay.
So cash advance items are monies that we do not control the cost of. So like the crematory would be a cash advance item.
Mm-hmm.
Because you guys have a set rate.
Right.
And we can't control that. We can't make money off of that.
I have heard that. That's a pass-through price. You're not
Same
allowed
with
to.
death certificates.
Now,
You can't make money off of death certificates.
I was curious about this. We charge our price. Can you guys mark it up in a roundabout way
No.
by doing like a transporting fee to the crematory?
The only way you'd be able to do that is
Because you're not
maybe
marking
other
up,
funeral homes do. I don't think that's legal. I think
Okay.
that the only way you could mark it up, right, is by your cremation container,
So we had
which is the container that the body goes into to be
Right.
cremated and puts into the tort.
I talked to a different funeral director once about like when families want to pick, can you charge? And that individual said, well, if it's going to a crematory that's not local.
You can charge mileage.
Right. So I didn't know what that.
But like, how often is somebody going to pick a crematory that's out of your mileage range
Well, I
just
guess
so you
that's
can
my
spend?
question though, is what's that mileage range?
Our mileage is 10 miles. So anything within 10 miles of our radius.
But you have multiple.
Yes. So any of them. If you're meeting at the one location, then we're going to go the 10 miles a radius around that location. If you're meeting at the other location, it's the 10-mile radius around that location.
And if it's outside of that.
It's a $3 charge per mile.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Huh. Well, that's not. Well.
And it covers like all these costs. Yes, it seems like a lot, and we'll go into this in another episode, but it's covering a ton of the overhead of owning a funeral home, like the cost of vehicles, maintaining the vehicles, I mean, getting snow tires on all the vehicles so that we're not slipping and sliding all over the cemeteries, or going on your home transfer. You're not getting stuck in your driveway because you haven't plowed.
Right.
It's maintaining all of the oil changes on those, the roofs, the carpets, making sure that the funeral home doesn't look like a dump.
Right. And there's a cleaning fee.
Yeah, we have cleaners. Some funeral homes, like I talked beforehand in the small town I'm from, like he cleaned, but I'm sure that, it's his time.
Right.
Instead of doing nothing on that Wednesday, he's putting 5 hours worth of elbow grease in. Yeah, like deep cleaning.
Yeah. Not just a little vacuum.
Yeah, not just a little vacuum, which is what, that's what we do before every service, is we have like a checklist. Before every service, and you vacuum, you put waters out, you make sure the candy dishes are full, you make sure the toilet papers are full, and there's an extra toilet paper on the back of the toilet, all that.
Okay. So now, if they don't have any prearrangements done at all, you call, just for convenience, you call my cemetery, and you say, hey, I'm sending a family up. And then I usually ask, do they know what they're looking for?
Oh, like if they're coming up without
they have nothing.
Me,
right.
And they're going to look for a spot.
You have come on a couple of sales.
Yeah, the most recent one you took off without me.
Well, you were late.
I was 3 minutes late.
Still late. They're also early. But
damn funeral director's always late.
All they want is that paycheck, so they don't care about the families. So I guess I'll take over. Kind of do my side of it.
Yeah, maybe I'll have some questions.
You probably, hopefully you will. 'Cause if
maybe.
Not, I'm just going to be rambling. Yeah, I know it's boring stuff, but some might find it exciting. So we get a phone call saying, hey, we're sending a family up. And we usually ask, do they have any family here? And sometimes they say yes or no.
How often do they say no? Like, what are the...
Sometimes they we have no preference. They don't have any family.
Yeah, but what I'm saying, like, so 20% usually come up and they don't have any family.
Most of the time, they want to be near somebody. I would say 80-20.
Okay.
Is that they want to be near somebody, and sometimes we can't accommodate that. And that really, some of these families, that really goes right through me. And I want to sound like a jerk here, but we had this lady come in, and she was like, I want to be buried next to my parents. So I looked up their parents, and her parents died in the 70s. This lady's like in her early 90s.
Oof.
So I'm like, we don't have anything near your parents. She's like, what do you mean? I'm like, your parents bought 2 graves, and people have bought across, next to, behind. I go, there's no room. And she's like, no, but I want to be buried next to my parents. I'm like, well, we can't do that. I go, if you want, you can be cremated. No, I don't want to be cremated. So I'm like, I can't help you then.
Another reason to
do prearrangements once again. But I don't know what this lady thought. 50 years and we were just hanging on to this spot for you.
Well, it's different too if you guys were like a really small cemetery.
Right. I mean, we're relatively busy. So we ended up I made a grave for her all the way at the edge of the row. I added on to the row for her. She was like, this is as close as I can get. And I'm like, lady, this
wasn't even really a grave.
This doesn't even exist. We're adding on. And she was like, I guess I can go here. She's like, I can't go across and lay across them. I go, no. What are you talking about?
On top of them?
That's what she wanted to do. So our cemetery, we don't bury multiple depths. We only bury one depth. I know some major cities, they bury 4 or 5 deep.
Really?
Yeah, because they're that limited for space. But that's not us. We have plenty of room.
I'm assuming you have to be a part of that family. You can't just be any Joe Schmo going on top of Lucy Lou.
I've heard different things, but I would imagine it has to be some sort of connection. It's not just I'm going to be buried on some random person. But I don't know.
What do they do for the headstones? Just big headstones?
They might have multiple names on it. So that's what we always have. Our rules are you can have 1 headstone per grave. But you can have as many names as you want on that headstone. So you got to kind of plan ahead. But if a family comes in and says, I want to be near so-and-so, I look up their name in our old books that are
the good books.
They're the good books that are still handwritten, and we still We have other ways of backing it up now, but we still write them down. So I find that individual, I see what plot they're on, what lot they're on. So a quick thing here, a plot in our cemetery is the big area that's like surrounded by pavement. That's a plot.
Oh, and then the lot is the actual grave itself?
Nope. So then a lot is a designated space within that plot, and then within that lot are graves.
That's I always thought it was there's a lot, and in the lot is a plot.
No, it goes, ours is a plot and then a lot.
And then I thought plot and grave were kind of interchangeable.
No, so, well, I always say for our cemetery. So we have plot, plot 7, plot 8, plot 80, whatever it is. And then within there is lots. And a lot can be a family lot, which is just the Smith lot. And they can have 2 graves, say. And that's its own lot number. So right now we are on lot like 8,000 and something. And obviously the first lot was lot 1.
How many plots are there?
81, 80 in the low 80s, because some numbers are kind of repeated.
Is there like a certain feet of that makes up a plot, or is it just
no? So plots can be any size. So we have like our old original section. These plots are like 10 acres. I mean, they're huge. The original plots are massive. And now the newer plots are a little smaller because they're just easier to maintain. But they're still, acres big. Lots, however, our standard size is 20 feet tall by 40 feet long. And that can be 20 graves. Because our graves are 4 feet wide by 10 feet tall. So we actually sell the graves relatively large. We have a lot of elbow room. Because our bucket that we dig with the backhoe is 3 feet. So that's 36. So we have an extra foot, 6 inches on either side. And then the vault is like 33 inches wide. So we have plenty of room. And we're like almost cheating. Because I've heard some cemeteries sell the graves are like 3 feet wide. And they're like
tight.
They're real tight. And
but if you hit that other grave with your backhoe.
Yeah. So I've heard horror stories of having to open like 3 holes to like move the vaults over to make room for this new grave.
Because the ground moved and there just wasn't enough?
Yeah, or they just were kind of favoring one side when they dug it. It's like a real small margin of error. Where ours are 4 feet. So, I don't know if we had a service today.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if you noticed, if you looked in the hole, you could see the vault on one side.
Oh, I didn't.
Yeah. But
I did look in the hole and everything.
We had a vault on the right-hand side of it. You could see the neighbor. And
hey, neighbor.
Yeah. So we didn't, but we still had plenty of room.
Yeah, I didn't even see it. It wasn't protruding by any means.
So once again, I always say our cemetery is pretty lucky because that's the way they've done it for a while now. And I've gone to conferences and I told people that, and they're like, wow, you guys have a lot of elbow room. And it's like, well, it makes our life easier. And like I always say, we have 60 acres left. So it's not like we're really hurting for space.
Mm-hmm.
So we kind of make it a little easier for ourselves, honestly. But going back to it, if they want to be buried near a loved one and there's room, our lots have 4 corner posts that surround them.
Explain what a corner post is.
So a corner post is just a metal disc that's got a metal rod going through it that we hammer the person's last name into it. So they'll be the Martinez family. We'll hammer Martinez in it, and that is always put. It's either at the bottom left of the grave, or if it's at the head of the grave, at one of the left side of it. And we find those.
So top left or bottom.
So if it's a flush marker section, and there's someone that's going to be buried below.
A flush marker.
So a flush marker is a marker that is flush with the ground.
It has no
It's not raised.
Angle, yeah, it's not raised.
It's just flush with the ground.
Can mow right over it.
And like our social service section
mm-hmm.
they're always at the bottom left corner. and it'll be the Martinez or Smith or whatever it is. So whenever that time of the burial comes, I'll look on the map, and we'll have the family on the left and like the family on the right. We have a metal detector. We'll go find those corner posts at the end of the lot, on either side of the lot, say. Then we measure off we get a tape measure out, and if it's like 40 feet wide, and we're burying in like the third grave, we bury, so 0 to 4 is grave 1, 4 to 8 is grave 2, so 8 to 12 is where we're going.
Grave 3.
Yes.
Yeah.
So grave 3 is 8 to 12.
And I think that we talked about posting on our Instagram and Facebook like a kind of a mock-up of the map, because it was way easier for me to understand this when you showed me.
It's really hard to just explain it in this way. But there is, my reason I'm bringing this up
Maybe we'll even take a little video of your finger kind of going through and your voice in the background.
The whole point of this is, though, there is a method to our madness. But Friday, we had a minister come up to us and say, how did the cemetery know to bury here and not hit anybody?
Yeah, and they literally asked me, and I literally looked at you and went,
I was like, well, I'll field this one.
We literally switched spots.
Yeah. I'm like, we have corner post in the ground.
And then he went, huh?
Yeah, and I was like, well, I kind of went a disc, but it's measured.
Yeah, and then a metal detector. He loved the metal detector. Yeah. He was like, ooh.
Fancy.
Fancy.
But this is all laid out, so it's not, like, we have close to 3 feet of snow here right now. Mm-hmm. And that makes finding things very difficult. But today, we were just shoveling off a whole area to find corner posts for a funeral we have tomorrow.
Well, the area needed to be shoveled anyway.
Right, but we had to shovel it, find the corner post, then we measure, and then we have a frame that is a 4x8 piece of metal frame that we lay down, and that's what we chop around that so that the sod is cut, and then we dig the grass is cut, so that we can dig and we don't tear up the whole lawn. It'll rip until.
And then you put the grass back on top, right?
We don't. I know, we're lazy in that one. We used to back in the days before I was there.
You do that for cremations, though.
Cremations we do, yes, because this is just a small hole.
Or a baby,
but not a full grave. We just come back in the spring. Look, now if we have a burial in the spring, we put fresh topsoil down and seed it and hay it.
How long does it take for the grass to grow?
A couple weeks. Probably more than that. Maybe a month if it's raining. Mm-hmm. We don't really water it too much because
we get a lot of rain.
Yeah.
Spring.
So we just level it off with topsoil, seed it, and then put hay down. And we usually do it before. Like, we look at the weather and say it's going to rain tomorrow. Let's do some topsoil. And then it just kind of grows.
So I have a question. It's kind of off topic, but kind of not. Now, you guys have a social service section. Mm-hmm. Probably one of the main reasons we see each other so much at work is because of the social service calls. Mm-hmm. Our funeral home takes care of quite a few social service. Would you say that we're out of all the funeral homes, like, are we like equal with a lot of the funeral homes taking care of social service? Because I feel like we do quite a bit.
No, you're probably the most. We probably see you guys the most in a year for burials. So social service burial is when a family or an individual does not have any assets or does not have the funds the means to pay for their
in the county that we live in, because every county is different, specifically in our state. I don't know how other states work, specifically in our state. And honestly, probably a whole episode should be us like delving into what other states do. You know,
I don't know anything about that.
Really learning some other states, but our particular county, it has a really high payout for these services. I would say that we take care of a lot because you don't get as a funeral home, you don't make a ton of money off of them. And so it's really you doing a service for the community members. Mm-hmm.
Some people take advantage of that.
They sure do.
The cemetery point is all we get is the internment, which is for us to dig the hole. Mm-hmm. The cemetery donates The grave.
So when you guys donate, because this is what I'm super interested in, when you guys donate the grave, is it like a tax write-off because you're tax exempt? It's just genuinely you just donating a mass amount of graves?
Yep, it's just us saying being good guys, but the reason we kind of justify it is if we donate it, then the cemetery gets to pick where it goes. Because if a family pays for it, they get to pick. I know that sounds really bad, but it's like today again. We have a social service section, and it's a hill for the most part. It's a steeper hill.
It is,
but
it has a beautiful view.
No, it actually is not a bad spot at all.
It's just in the winter and the spring when it's raining.
Stinks.
Ugh,
not stinks. Not actually smells.
P.U.
No, it's just a pain in the ass with mud and ice and everything. So we don't really bury there in the winter. So that's kind of like the advantage is we get to kind of dictate where this individual goes. So, but we donate it. So kind of, sort of.
Yeah, but if the family comes to you, even on a social service, and says, "Hey, my mom is buried on this," you guys have to try your bestest.
We don't have to try our bestest.
Okay, but you do.
We don't have to.
But you do.
We try to, yes.
Yeah.
So that's this.
Give him a big
part.
sigh.
Yeah, I know. I hate that. So, to me, it's all in the presentation. So, some funeral homes say, if you can you get near his brother so and so? He passed away in this year, and I'll look it up. And if it's the middle of summer, and I'll look, I'm like, all right, there is a grave nearby. We could probably do it. It's when I'm told, and I don't know what this complex says about me or what.
Ego.
Something like that, yes. But when the funeral director's like, hey, they're in can you, not can you, because they don't ask. It's just the family wants to be next to the brother. And I'm always like,
and here's his name.
So let me know when we're going to bury him there. And I'm like, yeah, that's not how this works. I mean, you could ask for it. And if there's room.
My question is, why is the family, in that instance, suffering, quote unquote, right, for the funeral director's misrepresentation, like how they're asking you?
Because I know I'm not saying it's right.
I'm just like in your mind, because you're not you're a very sweet person. So like how do you rationalize that in your mind? Like, is it a dig at the funeral home, or do you, in the moment, are you
Well, sometimes it depends.
Not thinking of the family?
Well, because sometimes it depends if we can help them. Sometimes we can't at all.
Yeah.
Sometimes they're buried in the middle of the plot and there is nothing nearby, and we just say, no, we can't do it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if we can do it, and I was told this, once again, by my father, so I have no idea how people are going to get mad about this or not. But
not Bernie.
Yeah. He told me, he goes, if it makes your life easier,
do it.
So do it that what you will. But if it's in the middle of the plot and there's 3 feet of snow, we just can't do it. I mean, if that's gonna sound bad too, if they pay for it, then we have to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know.
It's really, it does sound bad, right?
I know it sounds real bad.
Yeah, but at the same time, if you go anywhere, if you go anywhere and you're getting something for free, it's being donated to, because right. there are cemeteries that don't donate spaces. Mm-hmm. Say that person they're on social service, but they're at a different cemetery. They could not donate that spot, and you could either have to pay it in full or they might discount it. But it's not free by any means.
So when we gave our prices to the state even said to us, you want to donate this grave for social service? And we were like, yes. And they're like, because the state is in the business of keeping cemeteries afloat.
Mm-hmm. Because they know how bad it is.
Yeah, because they don't want that headache either.
Mm-hmm.
And they said to us, are you guys sure you want to donate a grave? You don't want to just discount the price? And we were like, no, we should just donate it. They're like, okay, that's your choice. So I don't know.
Yeah, you're already doing them a favor.
That's
Like, and it's weird to say a favor, but at the same time, like, this is a business.
Mm-hmm.
We are, like we said, companies trying to stay afloat.
Mm-hmm.
The cost of that grave, the cost of that interment, it's all going towards people's salaries to maintaining the property.
Right.
And it's not, yes, it might seem like a lot and it might seem like a gouge, but my favorite thing to say to people is, what life event do you have that is not going to cost thousands of dollars? Weddings. How much is a wedding right now? Average is $30,000.
Yeah, probably.
How much is having a baby in a hospital? They charge you thousands of dollars. And even after insurance, you're paying sometimes thousands of dollars. What about a sweet 16?
Well, yeah.
What about prom? You're paying so much money for life events, but as soon as it's something around death, people want everything for free and act like it's a gouge, and it's not. It's still a business. This could have been taken care of during a time where services were held at your home. Mm-hmm. The funeral director wasn't like licensed and didn't have to go to school for all the things that they're doing. I have to pay student loans, honey.
Yeah. I don't know. I go back and forth with it because I don't know if I should be more. I don't know, because example, today I came into work and I had a fax because someone still faxes. A bunch of dopes.
Stop.
I swear, I'm like, how do you, why? Okay, they faxed over a piece of paper that has like a funeral notification. So I went through it and I read it, and it says on the bottom, if possible, be near the brother. So I looked up the brother, and he's in the middle of a hill near a road that we currently have closed because it's just glare ice and it's not safe. So I was looking at it, I'm like, there's no way we're going there because it's just not safe.
Mm-hmm.
So I have no idea what the family's going to say to me when that funeral happens. They're going to say, well...
And this is social service?
Social service, yeah. So I've had that happen before where we go to do
So
a
what
burial.
happens if that family was like, okay, well, what if you don't donate the spot and we just pay for it? Then you have to go clear that entire...
We would figure it out.
All for a measly...
Well, almost $1,000. It at least makes it feel a little better that we're doing it, but we're getting paid for it.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
Because it's not easy work, period, to go and dig a grave in the snow, is what we're trying to get at. It's not easy work to do the things that we're doing. So, like, when you're discounting and when you're donating... It should be at your convenience.
It is kind of like at our benefit. I mean, as much as we're losing money, but we get to kind of dictate things because, like the funeral today, we did it right on the road.
Mm-hmm. It was beautiful
because we have.
When I pulled up, I went, ah.
Because we have 3 feet of snow and ice, so.
And also just people walking. You're worried about people slipping on the ice on the roads.
That's the other thing, too, is some cemeteries just
have to carry a casket.
Some cemeteries just say, no family to the grave.
I was just going to say, a lot of cemeteries won't even allow people out of the...
Off the road.
Yeah, off the road. It's called a roadside...
Service. Yeah. So, like, we don't
And the families get so mad. They're like, what's the difference?
Right. So we don't do that. We try... like hell to have it as safe as possible for families to go to the grave, but I do know one day, God forbid, somebody rolls an ankle or
we're in a sue happy society,
and that's going to come to an end, and all the other families in the future are going to have to pay for it someday. But
knock on wood.
Knock on wood. I mean, we've been open for over 150 years right now, and we're still allowing it. But I'm just waiting for something to happen, and the board's going to say, all right, well, we got sued, so nope.
Do you guys have insurance for that?
Yeah. Oh, we have insurance. For
just curious, yeah.
But I know that's going to happen someday.
I literally was just talking to my boss the other day. It was snowing pretty heavily out, and we had calling hours, and our entryway is tile. I was like, we should really invest in those plastic caution, slippery when wet, because...
Man, we went on a huge tangent here talking about what happens when you die.
Yeah.
That's
so. So, anywho's.
All right. After they're paid, And we issue them a deed and everything and a receipt. And then I usually notify the funeral home and say the family came in, they purchased on this lot, on this plot, in this grave, just for your records. And we say everything is paid for. Or they didn't pay for everything.
And it's itemized on our end.
Right, and then they're going to pay you.
To pay, yeah.
And then we'll issue the check from you.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess that's kind of like the cemetery, it's going to be kind of boring. It's just, But it's the mapping, which is... That part
I think would just be such a better video of you explaining, showing a map. Sorry, folks, it's a little late, as we have to do this after work. Mm-hmm. So, my yawn. I think it'd be better to have a video of you, like with your little fingers, so your face isn't in it, and just like explaining how mapping it out, because it is very interesting.
Yeah, I can probably figure that out.
And like the logistics behind it all.
But then if you go cremation route, it's even easier. You call and say, "Hey, I'm coming up. I have an individual. I have a case to do."
Well, I always ask, "Is it okay if I come up?"
And we'll say, "Sure." And then you pull into our crematory and you back right in.
Beep beep beep.
Get out of the elements. Get in the warm crematory.
Mm-hmm.
Drop the case off. We do it. We call you.
And there's some paperwork that goes into it. We sign some paperwork. You do more paperwork, probably.
Yeah, we do a lot of paperwork with that.
And then we like slide the body out in its container onto what is that contraption? I call it like a weight.
Well, it's a table.
Oh, it's just a table and then
on wheels.
And it weighs.
It's got a scale in it and everything, and then it weighs the individual, so we know how much it is. We get the gender.
And why do you have to know how much it is?
The heavier you are, the longer the process takes to cremate, because you don't want the cremation to get quote unquote out of control. Mm-hmm. Because
if you have extra fat, grease fires.
It's just fuel is fat, so you can't just throw a bunch of flame at it and heat and get it going, because if that starts going too much, then you're gonna have a bunch of smoke pouring out the top of that crematory.
Oh, I can't wait to talk about, because so many people, and I get this question almost every time I do a lunch and learn, is, are cremations really better for the environment? What happens with the smoke like that it produces? And I love this question because I don't necessarily know, but from all of the research I've done, the emittance. Yeah. Is that the right word? Yeah. Sure. Into the air. Mm-hmm.
Is what?
Not the best. Okay. It's not the best. And you would have more understanding because you guys go to more classes. And I'm just like doing research for lunch and learns.
A retort has two chambers, basically. The main chamber where the case goes, and that's where the fire takes place. The smoke goes to the back of the machine, and then it's forced below the machine. It goes in like a horseshoe around the bottom of the machine underneath, and it's got a bunch of baffles and other flames in there, and that disrupts and gets rid of all the particles. Then it goes out the stack. But in that bottom chamber, it is reignited. So that's...
I was going to say, how does it get rid of the particles?
So it's reignited. So that's the big thing. And then from there, it is just what is left goes out the stack, which is, if you're doing it right...
What is the stack?
Is the
chimney?
The chimney, I guess you could say, but we call it's a stack. So that bottom chamber is regulated by the state at a minimum temperature. So in our state, that bottom chamber has to be at a minimum of 1600 degrees. The main chamber is not really that important for temperature-wise. That secondary chamber is the important one, because if it's too cold, then it is not going to reignite the smoke, and then you're going to have black smoke just pouring out the stack.
Okay, so one of the things that people bring up to me is cremation creates air pollution, such as nitrogen oxides, carbon monoxide, and particulate matter.
So does it, or is that the question, or how much?
That's a question, but it's like also, yeah.
So, I mean, I'm sure there is some sort of, there's some particles going out, but it's not like...
Mercury vapor. I'm reading on Google right now, folks. I am. It says a lot of water vapor, CO2, plus amounts of carbon monoxide, nitrogen oxide, sulfur dioxide, hydrogen chloride gas, hydrogen fluoride, and mercury vapor. All are very simple molecules.
But what percentage though? I mean, it's. I'm sure there is some of that, but I mean, it's like any other fire.
Yeah, but so how often? What their question is usually related to is with cremations going to almost 80%.
Oh, is it going to?
How much is that going to affect our air quality, especially with having now we have one in our local city.
Yeah.
They're like, what is this doing to our city air?
We had one,
and I'm like, oh, I have no idea about it.
We had one lunatic come in and say, "There's going to be a smog over the city," and we're like, "It won't be." We are regulated.
But what if it reaches a certain amount?
I think it would have to be...
It says crematoriums are sources of air pollution, especially mercury emission.
I mean, I'm sure it is, but we are regulated by the DEC and the state. So government. They come in and do their inspections and to make sure that we are... And they haven't had any complaints.
I'm just saying, I'm not even saying you guys aren't right.
Like it's a real attack
it's what are the government standards safe for how much cremation is going to be?
I mean, I think it's just on a state level. I don't know if it's a federal level, but
the government is the state government.
Okay, well, I mean, they meant like the big government, but ours, like I said, it's all regulated by the state though. So it's not like
is the state able to or pursuing the effects of what air pollution, what the quality of cremation is going to, you know what I mean? With it increasing.
Asked that question. I have no idea.
Well, we found a question for you to ask at the state meetings.
At the next inspection, which is in probably December.
Mm-hmm. You're going to be a superstar.
Them. No, I want to be the ass. I want to be like, hey, shut up.
Why? I just got a question about safety and my future children.
I'm trying to remember, in all seriousness, from my classes, because they did tell us how much percentage of the emissions, and it's not.
You have to pull out your books.
Yeah, I gotta find those books first, and then pull them out, and then read it. But I don't think it's a lot. In summary, it's nothing. Don't worry about it. It's just easier that way. As long as we're at
we'll have a whole episode about it, folks, as soon as we dive more into it.
Oh, I know that we're at 1600 degrees.
Barry is going to love that episode.
Yeah. So
1600 degrees on the bottom.
Yeah.
It goes out the
stack.
Chimney.
Out the chimney. And if you're doing it right, all you see is the heat vapors going out because everything is being reignited and burned. So roughly every 100 pounds is an hour.
Mm-hmm.
Roughly. Once the individual is done, after about an hour or so,
So what's left over after the individual?
It's just bones.
Yeah. Not many people know that.
Mm-hmm. So I'm going to get a little graphic.
Like your ashes are...
This is just going to be a real graphic episode. Because everything what you were talking about with skin and yuck. But we have to open the chamber throughout the process to check it.
And to
stir it up.
Not like sauce, guys. Like kind of pokes and moves around the body.
Yeah.
Unless it is like sauce.
No, it's more like just poking at it to
make sure all points of the body are being heated properly.
Yeah, and you'll be there's cardboard. I never realized how resilient cardboard is. That's what takes the longest to burn off.
Or if somebody's in an actual wooden casket.
That takes a long time too. But we open.
So would that casket be a part of their ashes collection?
Part of it, yes. So there's most of the 95% of the time it's just in cardboard boxes, I'd say, and about
cremation containers.
Yes, yeah, I guess that sounds better. But after about an hour or so, we open the chamber and just get a visual on it and see where it's at. And if there's a
They
lot.
wear this really super stylish gear when they open
Not
it.
always. Well, you're supposed to. But like heat, like you see people getting lava, like those big metal reflective ones. We have stuff like that.
And the
too.
glasses, they look
Yep.
so cool.
But after a while, you have to kind of. There's one flame in the middle of the chamber, so you have to put the individual feet first in, so that the flame hits your chest, because that's where most of your fat on the body is in your torso area. That's why I always ask, is this head
Where's
or
the head?
Yeah. I don't say it like that.
Even though I label it.
Yeah, but once you told me, like, oh, don't listen to that, I screw it up every now and then.
It's not true. It's because the bottom of the container says foot end, and sometimes, but I'm always on the top of it. I put head where their name is and foot where their feet is.
Either
not
way.
Cool.
So we have to poke around at it and make sure that it's burning. So once it's all the way done, we pump air into it and everything to keep the flame going.
Like those old school pumps?
Nope, it's all done automatically. So these machines that we have now are, you just type in, there's like the weight and the gender, the box it's in, and what number case that is for the day.
Does that print out your sticker?
Nope.
Oh, that would have been cool.
No, that's done on our own
As soon as the body's done, it just prints out the sticker.
Yeah, no, we do that ourselves. But that information's all a prerequisite. You hit the start button, it preheats to 1600, a red light goes on. You open the door, you have cardboard rollers that you put on there first, and then the body gets pushed in and it lands on the roller, so it assists with you pushing into the chamber, close it up, record the time, and then off you go. And it's done.
And then you poke around every hour.
Poke around every now and then. When it's done, you record the time that it finishes, and then you have to sweep all the ashes towards the front of the chamber, and it's like there's a gap so that the...
what do you use to sweep?
We have a big broom that's metal. Big metal broom.
Does it make a terrible sound?
No, not really. It's all brick on the inside.
Yeah, but the noise
chamber.
of like scraping and
isn't that bad?
No.
Nothing, you don't even really notice that. You rake that and it falls into a big metal bucket. You get the little disc out.
Because everybody gets put in with a little disc,
Everyone
which
gets
has a
disc.
number.
That's how we track it, rather. That gets moved.
You're
I'm
saying
really,
they're not
I'm really glossing.
recognizable
I'm
after?
really ripping through this here, I think. Because I think that's going to be its own episode maybe someday. It's just cremation. And then we drop it into the processor. We sift through it and find all the metal and any of the knees and shoulders that might be artificial.
Screws.
The screws. The big thing we always have to find that's a pain in the ass is the buttons. If it's a
fake clothing.
hospital gown
Oh.
has buttons. That's always... We should just know how many buttons there are at this point, but we never do. But we have a big magnet that goes over it and picks everything out. Then we put it through the processor, and that's what grinds it into that fine powder you see.
And they used to have to pulverize it themselves by hand with a hammer.
But we don't do that, thank God. And
Barry would keel over.
yeah, that would be a... Yeah.
He'd cry into every single.
Well, Bernie would be even more beat up too.
Oh, you little softies.
Yeah, we are. And then they're bottled or they're put in a box, labeled. Then we.
That's where the sticker comes from.
The sticker that says the name, the case number, and the day they were cremated.
And where they were cremated.
A very nice logo. Then we bring it down to the office. There's some paperwork that's done there, and then we call Morty and say, so-and-so is done, and it's getting ready to pick up. And then you come pick them up. We release it back to you, and then whatever you do with it afterwards, it's up to you.
Yeah, I think I got to pick one up tomorrow.
Yes, it's done.
Yes.
We didn't call.
It was the end of the day.
Yeah.
I was busy anyway until 6:30.
Yeah. Well, either way, it's done.
Cool
it's
beans.
In the office. He's in the office. I don't know his name of it.
You didn't do it.
I didn't do that one.
Out in the snow today.
I was doing the burial instead. But then you release to the family, and that's kind of...
So when we receive the ashes into our care, or what we would call... The actual term for it is cremated remains. We don't actually call them ashes, but a lot of families will think that's kind of harsh to call it cremated remains. So then we place into an urn. If an urn was chosen, we either go about having a service, or what we call a direct cremation, which is the family just had us take care of cremation, and then they receive the ashes either to spread or, like you said, put on their mantle, do with it as they wish.
Mm-hmm.
And they come to receive from the funeral home. They sign a paper, and yeah, I was gonna say papers, but it's just one.
Mm-hmm.
They sign a paper, and if it's a church service, then we have the urn at church, and if it's burial, then we have it's all back to the cemetery. And it's a smaller plot, and at your specific, most cemeteries, it's if you buy I want to say a plot, but it's not a plot now that I know. A grave. If you buy a grave, there are two options where you can have a casketed burial and an urn burial in the same grave.
Mm-hmm.
Or you can have two urn burials in the same grave.
Ours is 4.
4 urn burials in the same grave?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah, no big deal.
Yeah, but pretty standard that it's 2.
Yeah, we bury 4, and we have to mark it.
You
on
won't
the
do
map.
2 caskets though, right?
No 2 caskets. We'll just do a casket and an urn, or 4 urns, or just a casket.
Wow.
But the only thing I always say is that's always just one stone. So you have to have. We have a family that came in and
So
bought,
how big can the stone be for one plot? Because you see some of those stones, those old ones that are like wicked tall. They're taller than you and me combined on top of each other's shoulders.
Yeah, we have ones that are like 100.
So
100 feet tall.
how many graves would you need to have one of those bad boys?
We're going in a different direction here now, but our rules say that the maximum width of the foundation can be 60% of the total width of the lot. So
eyes are crossing, folks.
it isn't that complex. So, like, if we have a monument section, people buy 2 graves. That's 8 feet, because each grave is 4, so that's 8 feet wide. So that means you can have 60% of that. So 40. So 4 feet is half. So it's like, I think we say like 60 inches. I want to say 50. It's like a little over around 5 feet.
Does it matter how tall it is?
We have no height restrictions.
God, I just love some of the monuments that they have.
Yeah, the old sections are fun.
Like, how do you pick who like those angels and like just random crosses that are just massive and they're just for like sculpture reasons? I don't know.
Yeah, that's all. I mean, we have some massive monuments that are almost.
So how much the biggest monument that is actually a headstone? How many graves did they need?
I think right in the middle we have that giant one you see when you go up the hill. Where's that?
And you take a left or a right?
Yeah, it's like a roundabout around it.
Yeah.
That one, I think there's like 50 or 60 graves.
Jeez Louise.
It's one family. And
but can they have any more headstones on that? Flush markers?
No, they usually when you have a family lot, whoever gets buried there first kind of dictates the rest of time. So we try to have like the same type of headstone for that entire family lot, so it looks organized. We don't want like, oh, I got a flush marker, and this one's got a slant, and this one's got a hickey, and this one's got.
What's a hickey?
It's like one of those like, just like a little bumps. We call them hickeys.
What do you mean a little bump?
You know, like the ones that
little
are not.
Bump.
They're just like a little like off the ground like this much. So this little like squares. We call them hickeys.
Huh.
Or a raised marker, we say that.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
But that
a
always
raised marker
are going to be like the same.
I'm like a hickey.
Yeah. So they're all going to be like the same though. So even like my parents' lot, my grandmother was the first one on there, and she has a slant. So now in that color is going to be what everybody in my family is going to have now for that slant.
So you can't have a really cool big one?
I mean, probably not. No, actually, no, I can't, because we already have one monument. And then everyone gets their own little footstones that are going to be slants. So I'll have a slant.
So why do they choose to have a footstone versus having a
headstone?
Yeah, a head marker. It's even if it's just a flush marker that's on the headstone,
so
like closer to the head.
If you're buried at our cemetery and it's a monument section, you automatically get footstones, not headstones. They look the same. It's just different place.
I think you have to explain what a monument section is. Versus...
So if you buy a monument, which is like just your last name on it, and it's like a 2-piece where it's like a base. When you think of a monument, you think of like a big stone. It's just like a base.
It has just the family last name on it.
Yep, and it could have like some other people buried their name on it as well, but it just has the Brown family. And then if you get buried, if you want to have a family lot rather, you get a footstone, because if you get like a slant to go on for a headstone, it's going to be too close to the monument.
What if it's not a slant? What if it's just a flush?
We think it looks too close to the monument. It takes away from the monument. So it's put at the foot so that the monument can stand alone as its own entity. And then at the foot will be a flush, because some people put little flowers in front of the individual family footstones, or they might get a little flag holder if they were a veteran. If that was all up by the head, it's going to look really crowded. And for mowing purposes too. If it's at the foot, the tractor can get right in between them. So if you're in a monument section, if you're in a family lot, you're getting a footstone, not a headstone. But they look the same. It's just that the person's going to be buried behind it, not in front of it.
Mm-hmm. I've just had families ask me that from other cemeteries too. Is like, why is it at his foot? That's so silly. And I'm like, I don't know, it's cemetery preference.
Because we want the monument to
shine in all its glory.
Well, because you pay a lot of money for it, so it should be. If everything was at the head of it, it'd be really, really.
Ooh, that'll be another good episode too. Maybe we could get monument guy on.
Oh yeah, I think we can do that pretty easily.
Yeah,
we have a good rapport.
Talk about all that, because talk about art.
Oof. And some of the stories he's got too.
Ooh.
He's told me some of them.
See, and I've only ever talked to one local guy on the phone.
Yeah, no, that's the one we're probably gonna have if I would ever ask him.
Yeah, for sure.
He's told me some bad families he's met that are just bad news.
Well, and I know a lot of monument companies end up going out too, because people won't pay.
Right, and he's made that mistake too a bunch of times.
Yeah.
Not a bunch of times, but enough times. I know
enough times to learn.
Well, he takes payments, like installments.
Mm-hmm.
And if a family is like, they're paying him like every first of the month or whatever it is, he'll put the stone in early. So, and thinking they're going to keep paying, but they stop as soon as as
it's put in.
Right.
That's another reason why people are like, I can't believe you don't do payment policies as a funeral home. This is so much money. It's like, okay, but 6 months from now, you guys are going to stop paying.
Yeah.
And we have no leg to stand on.
Right. We say you have 18 months to pay for your lot. But
you're able to take it back.
And also, go, that too. And if it's to be buried there, it has to be paid for.
Mm-hmm. So
if someone's using it, it has to be paid immediately. We have families, they want to buy like 2 or 3 graves, but we need one paid in full for the burial. So that's kind of how we get around it. But we should wrap this up.
Yeah, we should.
So
not only because we've rambled quite a bit about a lot,
but
also because it is
midnight,
almost midnight, and both of us have to be up promptly.
I gotta shovel some more snow tomorrow
by 6 a.m.
We have a funeral, so
yeah.
Episode 3
will be coming. We'll be talking about. It was planned to be like religions and the different steps to what their services look like and how their burials are, and what their cremation processes look like, and kind of dabble into what our beliefs are in the afterlife.
Mm-hmm. Which I still think that's probably a good idea.
It's probably still a good idea. And then maybe episode 4 we'll maybe try to get
a guest. Ooh, I know Bernie is in.
Bernie is in, which was, guys, we were really thinking that Bernie would be a difficult one. We're trying to get my boss. He's very shy. He's very...
Bernie does not like talking.
Yeah. I know. That's why we were so shocked that he was so down.
And I already told him, I'm like, you're going to be there just to tell, like, wacky stories. And he's like, okay, I could probably do that.
So excited.
But, once again, I'm going to plug it here. The Dying to Share podcast at gmail.com.
Mm-hmm. And same with our socials.
So... Same with the socials, but we kind of ripped through that a little bit, and we kind of rambled in different directions. So if you have any questions, and we could probably do it again, maybe a little more
pinpoint,
and detailed on different items.
Yeah, or what interested you the most, and then we can definitely deep dive.
Yeah, and kind of pick and choose where we need to go.
Yeah.
So thank you for listening.
Thanks for tuning in, folks.
For episode 2, and we will see you next time.
Say it. Say it. Creep it
See
real.
you next time.
Creep it real.